executive. I said, what do we need to talk about? Make your vote and let's keep going. Do it, but we voted to still do it.
Who told you not to do it? I'm sorry.
The law department already.
City boy from the hood in Philly.
Not a city boy. I don't think oversight should be by the city. They can't even oversight what we have now.
Your former profession off to the side and be a strong black man and stand with your community.
This is Dr. Curry.
This is Kobe Owens.
Shanae Darby.
Welcome to The Source. Last week we took a week off just to get ourselves together, collect ourselves, and now we're back and we have a whole lot of news and things to cover on this evening. First, let's just thank God that there were no shootings this week in the city. Last week as well. We've had a very good response to whatever plan the mayor is hiding from us because I have not seen the plan yet. Kobe, have you had the opportunity to read the plan?
I have not. Really? But I think we know what's going to be in it, right? We know that they're going to have to try to put additional resources into some of the hot zones.
Oh, no, not that plan. Oh. His plan.
No.
Not the plan that what they call it, the plan that Shanae is going to talk about.
The landscape analysis?
Not that.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking about his plan because something is working. Maybe, but from what plan is what I'm trying to figure out.
Oh, no, I haven't seen a plan.
Did you see the plan?
I haven't seen a plan, but I know that he works closely with our police department, and I know the police department believes in like the GBI program, the Operation Safe Streets, and getting people and cracking down on crime. So they talk about those programs to why they believe crime is going down and it's working.
People who actually believe in civil rights believe that, Operation Safe Streets is unconstitutional. Just stopping someone because they're on the jump out squads and stuff like that, that's not constitutionally right. And there has to be a better way to go about this. I know the ACLU has spoken out against this multiple times.
Yeah, isn't that Rudy Giuliani theory? Because he was big on that.
That stop and frisk, all of it, which has been ruled multiple times unconstitutional.
Yeah, and I'm not going to go battle because you'll hear. I can hear certain people saying there go those liberals. They want the crime to stop, but they want to make sure they protect every right, which we do because we have too often been the victim of being violated. So I certainly support that. But since there's no shootings and no murders in the city, I just want to celebrate that moment. Hope we can get a chance to read a plan that has been endorsed by the city so that we'll be able to know we are on our way somewhere as opposed to it's hot, it's Christmas, it's Thanksgiving, and people just don't feel like shooting each other.
Right. And the city isn't going to come up with a plan that you're specifically looking for. And we're going to talk about the landscape analysis. The mayor administration will say that they are playing a big hand into that plan in regards to violence prevention and intervention. So.
Okay, well, I still want to see a plan. Without a vision, the people will perish. And I don't want someplace from Newark, New Jersey, this crime is up crazy to give me the analysis. But if it's working, we're going to celebrate it. Let me also jump real fast in the first part of this segment and just talk a little bit about the Oath Keepers. Two of them were indicted for sedition, and this has not happened in years.
Yeah, so the founder and leader of the Oath Keepers and then the leader of the Florida chapter, Kelly Meggs and Elmer Stewart Rose III, were both found guilty and indicted and found guilty of sedition. Now, what this means is they're two of the first people in a very long time to be found of sedition against the United States, conspiracy against the United States of America for their actions on January 6, 2021 during the insurrection. Now, they're not the only ones. Other people have been charged in their group for felony charges. the verdict followed a 8-week trial, right? So along with that was Kenneth Harsom, Jessica Wilkins, and Thomas Caldwell, who were all found guilty of related federal charges for their roles in organizing and kind of directing people to be so violent on that day.
Now, they are going to appeal this to the Supreme Court. Do you think it's
absolutely.
going to stand?
I think we'll have at least one Supreme Court justice dissent, and that'll be Clarence Thomas, because his wife was also involved in the planning and keeping this going to try to overturn our elections. But I think we've seen a break from the other three Supreme Court justices that Donald Trump actually placed on the Supreme Court when it comes to January 6th, when it comes to dealing with what happened on January 6th. So I think they will side with the other three liberal judges, and Chief Justice Roberts will also side with the liberal judges and state that these should be upheld.
And speaking of Donald Trump, this is a conversation all of us can get in. He had a very lavish, beautiful meal prepared for a Holocaust denier and a white supremacist. What's going on with him? He really wanted a bid for the White House?
Yeah, so him and Kanye had a meeting together. And in that meeting was Nitz Ferrante, who is a known white supremacist. Yeah. He does not like people who are Jewish or who are black, who are minorities. And for him to be at this meeting with Kanye and Trump to talk plans for 2024 is scary, right? 2024 has started already. Yeah. Kanye asked Trump to be his running mate, and Trump kind of tried to talk Kanye out of running, because I think they both understand they will pull from the same base and dilute their vote.
Yeah, I just don't know. I don't know, and I don't know. It's going to be fun, but I hope and trust that they indict the man so he can sit back.
Well, if you would have asked me about maybe 15 years ago, when I really started doing deeper dive into politics, would I ever be sitting here debating if Trump and Kanye were going to be the nominee for the Republican side, I would have called you crazy. Yeah. But here we are today. But just about that indictment, Trump has his tax returns have been turned over to the committee, the oversight committee of the U.S. House. So we will see what comes from that.
Right. All right, well, last thing is, in my hometown, TSA discovered they had the largest amount of all the states or the city airports to have obtained weapons, guns.
So 41 guns have been obtained at the Philly airport of people trying to go through TSA with a gun on them. That's the most since they really installed TSA into all airports, all major airports. And it's concerning, right? So we know there's a heightened reaction if that person was an African American or if that person was of Muslim descent, right? But 41 people, and they haven't been charged. They just had their firearms taken away. I think it really highlights that TSA it's doing its job, but also it's not doing its job equitable. All 41 of those people should have been charged.
Absolutely.
We even have a sitting state senator, who continues to want to attack black and brown policies, but yet a few years ago, he went into an airport with a firearm on him. So I just think, as we continue and as Christmas time and people travel more, just be very aware, and with increased gun violence all throughout the nation, especially all these shootings that keep happening, just be very careful.
And these are illegal guns.
Yes.
Because I know you can transport with firearms, but it's a process and check.
And every time I travel anywhere, I'm traveling with my gun.
Right.
One of them anyway, but it's always done appropriately.
Yep.
And all you got to do is I have to have this case that I have to put it in with no bullets, and the bullets have to be in a suitcase, and that have to be given to them for my next place. And I never have a problem. But the rules are for, in their minds, these people, these 41 and others, for those who are part of the Caucasian race, is for them, not for you know what I'm trying to say.
Right.
The rules are not for them.
But even if you do it the right way, and check it and everything, it is not supposed to come with you to the checkpoint. Right. It's never checkpoint is when you got to put your hands up. The big thing scans you and everything.
Yeah.
your gun should never be anywhere close to that point. And that's where these 41
when
guns
you get
are
out of your
escort.
car and check your bag, you got to let them know I have firearm.
Yep.
And you give them the firearm, they take it through a whole nother process.
Yep.
It does not travel with you. So that's just the way it is. Well, I just wanted to bring up those things in our local discussion today. We have a whole lot we want to get to and cover, so we're going to cut it right there, and we're going to be right back.
News all across the nation. Wilmington's latest headlines. Advocating for change in the community with Dr. C.T. Curry, Kobe Owens, and Shanae Darby. Tune in to The Source every Sunday at 5 p.m.
And we're back. Well, we've had Sister Shanae with us for a month and a half or 2 months, and she already trying to push her way in and get herself a corner or a scope. So we're going to call this Shanae's Scope because there's several issues she want to talk about. And one of the things I'm most excited about on your list is this city council selection. It could take up all your time if you wanted to.
Yes, it can. And we had our interviews. It was about, 19 people.
Oh, wow.
We interviewed on Monday. We started at 3:30. We sat in a committee meeting in our chambers. We interviewed each person. It went really smooth. And then we went into executive session and we made a decision.
Okay.
This executive session was very different. Beforehand, everyone vocalized who they were voting for. And we actually wrote it on a piece of paper. So I don't know who voted for who or who voted for what.
I didn't mean to cut you off, but for being elected officials, we vote that way?
So it's up to them to set the rules on how they want to do it.
When was that rule vote
So,
set? When did y'all vote on that rule?
Right. So the rule actually set is that we come out of executive session and we vote for a person based on a identifier. Council people argue that they did not want to do that because these are their friends. These are people that they live with, that they work with, that, because Wilmington is a small community.
It is.
Right? And some people were concerned that they had constituents and they didn't want to have enemies. This is what they were saying. For me, and probably one other council person, I was like, I could say who I'm voting for in public. I don't care, right? I didn't mind.
All right, and you've given us a very good process, Shanae, and I'm not trying to hammer on you or anybody, but you're elected to represent the people. Mm-hmm. So how do we cut down on the lies of it being the mayor's selection or others when people are afraid to vote public? First of all, when even though I have no, you're going to share with us the person who was selected, but I have no problems with her. I have problems with where she came from. I was told they're looking for experience. I was told they were looking for certain things. She didn't have any of that. But I also know that I believe she's a secure person to be able to continue to support the mayor in that whole budget stuff and things of that nature. I believe that. But I don't want to get into it because I don't want to beat her up because she only participated in the process. I'm not comfortable. I can hear somebody saying, "Now you don't have to be," with not knowing who voted for who. Because the same six that ruled probably had a meeting when Sister, what's the other lady name that transitioned?
Rashima.
No, the one who transitioned.
Loretta.
They probably already had their meeting.
Right.
Who's going to replace? I'm concerned. Now, y'all can talk all y'all want to talk. It should have been transparent. Now, when was the vote to use that process? That's what I'm a process man. When was that vote taken to say we're going to do it privately?
It was taken in the executive session.
In front of the people, executive session, nobody can see that.
No one can
Correct.
see it. So, yeah. So we
Who's
voted.
a parliamentarian of your group?
Listen, they told us not to do it, but we voted to still do it.
Who told you not to do it? I'm sorry.
The law department already said that.
And it's where you got to stick with.
So they argue that just a legal opinion, right?
Right.
So legal opinions do not have to be followed, but the law department did let us know that we could be up for FOIA requests, legal trouble.
Absolutely. And I'm gonna be the first one to do it.
Executive session. So that's what happened. So we wrote on a piece of paper who we were going to vote for and handed it in. We were able to
write your name on it?
No, our name wasn't on it. So we had to write. We had to check off 3 people. We didn't have to.
Okay.
We had a choice to select up to 3 people. everyone either selected 3, 2, or 1. So we wouldn't know.
It's not clear.
So yeah, I just want to give a little background on the person who was selected.
I'm the troublemaker. I am not comfortable with just saying that is okay. Because reason why you get upset sometimes and others get upset is because you got a core group of individuals who don't happen to have the same complexion that we have, who's still running, but they are putting people in position to continue to have this type of behavior.
What makes it even worse for me, one council person said, can we take a break so we can talk about who the selection should be? Like, one council person actually said that in executive. I said, what do we need to talk about? Make your vote and let's keep going. Like, I didn't know, like, for me, that was suspect. I was like, what do you want to do? Like, what are you trying to, you didn't research before you got here. You didn't read the resumes. You didn't just listen to all the interviews. You can't make a decision on your own that you wanted to take a break from executive session so that you can, I guess, talk to other people about who you wanted to vote for. Like, no, this is not a time for us to do that. Vote for who you think is best as an individual.
Well, J Street, I'm going to be calling you this week. We're going to have to foil you because at this point, I'm going to start trouble. We have to stop allowing people who are elected by the people to have these type of games. I don't have no problem with Letitia James, is her name? Bracy. I don't have a problem. I don't know. I know it's of her, but I don't have a problem with it. I have a problem with the process. I'm about process. Now, if you don't follow the process and you're giving legal advice of what you shouldn't do to avoid people coming at you, you should try to take that advice, especially with all the issues we've had. I'm going to leave it alone because we don't have enough time.
Well, I know you're going to go, but one thing I won't agree. I think she was the best option out of what we had, and I think she's...
we don't know who you had.
No. You know everyone who interviewed, right? And the interviews were very public.
Okay.
I think she presented herself very well.
Yes.
And she was able to answer the questions in a way that I think articulated that she understood the office,
Yes.
right? Now, she does have past experience already with the office. She's worked there, I believe, under 2 different council presidents. I think for a little bit under Council President Congo and then under Council President Hanifa Shabazz. She worked for the Biden campaign in 2008 when he was running for Senate re-election. He was also running for vice president that year. But then she went on after he was elected and Ted Kaufman replaced him. She worked for him and then worked for Senator Coons in community outreach. And then I think also she worked for Senator Carper, I believe, for a while. And then I know she has her own public relations.
I thought she was a great pick. And I don't really know her personally, but I have ran into her a few times. But I thought based on her history, how she interviewed, that she was a great pick. Now, the concerns that you may have, let's watch and see.
Oh, you know I'm going to.
Let's watch and see.
I may do some other things too, but I'm going to watch and see because it will show very shortly whether or not it was a game. But we're not going to attack her because honestly, the little I know, working in the areas that she works, and she is very articulate. And I think that she is a community person.
Yeah, I agree.
But it's just that you got to pay attention, and the process has to be open. The same vote you all took, if you promised me something, you should have never promised it to me. Now you look upon us being a liar, but the only way you can save your face is say, I did, but they didn't. Not fair. Be a leader. Go ahead and finish saying what you're going to say. I'm disgusted.
No, that's all. I wanted to make sure people knew her background. And that, she has been involved with the community. She used to live over at the Triangle. I think she lives downtown now. But someone who is through and through, someone who's been ingrained in Wilmington for quite some time.
So you believe, as the Shanae Scoop, you believe she was the better of the choice?
Yes, I definitely agree with that.
Understand.
And I actually look forward to working with her to get some of her wisdom and ideas on some of the legislation I have. I feel like she'll be open and willing to listen to me, and that hasn't been the environment that I have been in. I haven't been in an environment where, older or more seasoned council people have said, hey, let me mentor you, let me help you. That has not happened on city council at all. So I'm looking forward to working with her in that manner. Hey, I got this idea. Can I bounce this off of you? What do you think? I don't have that with other council people.
Okay, good. So that means you're gonna find some solace with her. I still want the process to always be the same.
I agree. The
Because you got
process
another one you
should
get
have
ready
been
to fill. You got another position y'all ready to fill.
Yep.
Okay? And if they say once precedent is set, we're going to continue to do it wrong. And that's just not good. What about this landscape analysis?
Yeah, so the landscape analysis has been finalized. It is on the city website. Anyone can go and view it. But the landscape analysis is to address our gun violence problem, right? So probably around this time last year, a few of our council people, about 3 or 4 of them, went to Newark, New Jersey to look at their Office of Violence Prevention and Trauma unit. And what is really interesting, you had brought up, we talked about Newark, New Jersey earlier, is that they decided on Newark, New Jersey, because Newark, New Jersey used to be one of the top 10 violent cities in the country, right? Now they don't even list top 100 cities of being violent because of a lot of the initiatives, funding, money. They have a great mayor who took over Newark, New Jersey, who's really focused on community-based, addressing violence in their city, addressing trauma in their city, looking at how police. What they did, they took $19 million for violence reduction strategies in 2021 for 3 years. In addition to that, they reallocated 5% of their public safety budget and said it's going to go towards the Office of Violence Prevention and Trauma Recovery.
I like that.
I love it,
Yes.
okay?
Yeah.
I love it. The city of Wilmington, we need to do something like that, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit as we're going through some of the points in the landscape analysis to address violence in our city, right? So I think Newark, New Jersey had a good model for us to follow, and they had a group called The Collective. And I guess they go around the country to help other cities implement some of the same strategies that they did to reduce violence. They have street teams that go mediate ongoing issues on the streets, the hospital-based programs, victim services, like really integrating into and interacting with the lives of people who are impacted by violence and who are perpetrating the violence, right? So we paid about $38,000 to have Newark come. They did interviews, they did site visits, they data analysis on, kind of like, where is Wilmington? What is our social environment like? And they basically talked about how there's 2 Wilmingtons, right? And I love that they said that because there's 2 Wilmingtons. There's 2 different realities for different people. There's the black one and then there's the white one, right? And in the city of Wilmington, and the 2 very different distinct experiences for people who are living here in Wilmington. So I thought that was neat. But one thing I do want to say about the analysis, it's nothing that we couldn't have said about Wilmington.
Okay.
Right? I could have told you it's 2 different Wilmingtons.
Yeah.
I could have listed out the organizations that are already working on intervention work in the city of Wilmington. So those things are happening. And what one of the issues for me is how we're funding it for the city of Wilmington. So currently right now we got ARPA funds, right? We got $55 million. The mayor administration said they're going to set aside $8 million for safer communities. And a part of that $8 million will go towards gun violence prevention. So that's where the $38,000 to even get the plan came from. And I guess once we implement the things from this plan, the rest of the money will come from that $8 million. However, ARPA expires. You have to spend that money by a certain time. And it's by, I think it's 2024.
Okay.
You have to have it at least allocated and then expended by 2026, fully spent. So we only have it's 2023.
Right.
And we're talking about, having funds expended by 2026. And in the recommendations, they said we should fund up to 5 organizations, giving them $100,000 minimum per year, right? So the city of Wilmington needs to take a real investment into gun violence or developing this Office of Violence Prevention. This is the foundation to have that office. And if we do the same thing Newark did, where they took they allocated money from their public safety. Well, we don't have a public safety department.
We have a police department.
But we have a police department.
That's right.
And we can reallocate funds from our police department to fund our Office of Violence Prevention and Trauma Recovery. And even at this level, we can fund it from that. And that's not a conversation we wait till 2024 to have.
Absolutely.
We don't wait, 2024, all right, the funds are up, let's have this convo. That's a convo we need to have this budget season, and it's coming up in March, right? So this is a conversation we need to have. How do we sustain work like this? How do we do that? Because the city of Wilmington already had a violence prevention program, and it failed. It didn't have a lot of the backing in regards to like just long-term longevity.
Didn't have the money neither.
Didn't have the funding,
Yeah.
right? So like, how do we make sure those things don't happen? And I think it's our job as council people to say, okay, we got this. We did this project. We got the plan. How do we fund this forever? Like, how do we think of 10, 20 years from now? And that conversation is what I'm pushing to have, and I'm hoping during the budget season we have that. So hopefully my council doesn't disappoint.
That's right. Well, we'll keep talking about it.
I hope they don't disappoint and that we're able to have that conversation. But what I really love with this recommendation, they actually pointed out some organizations that should be funded. So they talked about the Center for Structural Equity, GVI, YAT. They talked about Network Connect, which are already some great programs doing intervention work. And they also talked about giving out small mini grants, having an external oversight, because I don't think oversight should be by the city. They can't even oversight what we have now. Don't add anything to the cities. They can't do it. They can't even do pre-rental inspections, but that's a whole nother thing. And they want to create a 24/7 high-risk intervention and crisis response program,
That's
which I think is critical.
Yeah, it is.
Right, and it's like partnering with your local hospitals and providing like that treat and release service to people who are injured by violence, including like assault victims. So that funding will help with like funds for emergency relocation. We're in Wilmington. You're going right back to the same community.
Absolutely.
I always say I can go through Wilmington in 5 minutes in a city. Like literally get from north side to west side, east side, Southbridge, less than 5-10 minutes, right? We all live in the same, pretty much, if we lived in a bigger city, we would be one city, one area, right? So we're really, really close. Like relocation for a lot of the victims, I think it's important because they end up committing violence. Like it's this never-ending cycle of becoming the victim and then becoming the perpetrator.
Gotcha.
Because you got to protect you.
Endorse that, but we
I'm
certainly
not.
understand.
That's why I said
the mentality.
I get it.
Yeah,
like
the mentality.
if I have to come home and I gotta look behind my back every day, I walk out my home to walk to school.
Right, I understand.
That's scary, right? So we have to find ways to like intervene with those things instead of, for me, like we have like Operation Safe Street, which is very like police heavy. We really need to look at violence from a public health standpoint, and that's what I love about this plan. But this is a plan, and plans happen all the time.
Right.
But are we going to really implement this?
And now that we have the money to implement it, why not?
Yeah,
You'll shut me up. You'll shut me up because which I'm hearing coming out of the plan. And I did read it. I like the fact that you have presented it well to us today. But I think at some point we need to fund it, not just for the season.
Yep.
But it needs to be forever, because then you will have addressed the issues of violence in our city, not just guns. Although a lot of that deals with the gun side of it, but violence as a whole. You know, and that mental health piece is very important. Tell me a little bit about something that I saw on your docket about these. Were you finished? Because I don't want to.
We good. I don't know if you have anything.
No, we're gonna let Kobe be quiet right now because we're enjoying you. All right. But look, I got a question about this whole dark skin thing. You bother me. I'm a brown brother. What's up over in the DR? Because I just but I'm getting ready to go over there for my father's 85th birthday. Tell me about this so I'll know what I'm doing.
Right, yeah. So the Dominican Republic, they're warning dark-skinned, U.S. officials are warning dark-skinned Americans not to travel to the DR right now because they're at risk of being swept in the country's crackdown on Haitian migrants. So if they're going based on looks. So they're saying, oh, she's dark-skinned, she must be Haitian. Before I even open my mouth, before anything else, I'm swept away going to Haiti. Right?
Can I take my gun with me when I go to?
As long as you follow what the TSA.
Okay, I gotta find out. Could you look that up? I gotta figure that out.
But I was never a fan of the DR anyway because there's always been this harsh relationship between the DR and the Haitian community from their inception. Yeah. Right? So I never been a fan of. I think it's probably a beautiful country, beautiful people, but I just have always decided that I probably won't ever travel to the Dominican Republic, and I don't feel safe now anyway going as a dark-skinned person, and I'm not sure what type of violence that I will be met with if I were to travel there. But they're saying it's necessary because what recently happened is one of the Haiti's presidents was assassinated.
Yeah.
So a lot of Haitians are escaping the country because there's a lot of violence and people are dying. Like, we don't experience that type of political environment here, where if, like, Trump gets elected, nobody's killing over that, right? Like, that's one thing that we don't have to worry about here. Yet. We don't have to worry about that yet. Not a purge yet here, right? But in Haiti and other countries, it gets very violent and deadly for a lot of people. So right now, a lot of Haitians are trying to escape that violence, and then they're being deported back. And there's also children being deported back from Dominican Republic without their parents. Being dropped off back to a Trump move. And we talk about how migrants are treated in the United States. We don't even treat Haitian migrants. We don't treat black immigrants together. When we talk about immigration in our country, we don't even think about black immigrants, right?
I just want to say, during the Trump years, it was a group of us who worked very heavily on making sure that when we were talking about the undocumented community that was being mistreated, that we included Asians and Africans in that as well. But this also shows the ramifications of our actions here, right? Because America, not me, America elected Trump, and his policies took light, right? Yeah. That allowed it for other countries to try to react just like him, react like the Republican Party. You're seeing it in the Dominican Republic. You're seeing it, Brazil just, defeated that president who was on the same mindset of Donald Trump. You're seeing this happen everywhere. And what's happening here is, again, these two countries have been at it for years. For years. They share an island, right? And they're still going at it. But we have the same issues here. Delaware is what? Just a little over 1 million people, but yet we can't get along here in Delaware, right? So what is happening down there is very sad. It's a human rights violation. But I would warn all dark-skinned Americans probably shouldn't go there right now. Because once you get swept up in that legal system, and trust me, you don't have the same rights in other countries that you think you may have. You're seeing what's happening with Brittany Griner right now.
I would urge no one to travel, even if you're not. You should support your dark-skinned family and friends. And why would you want to travel somewhere where other people are being excluded?
Well, I'm going to reconsider now, and I'm going to have a conversation with my sister, because they found a good deal for all of us to all go. That's going to be in April. But I agree with you. If that's going on still, my daughter and wife would come back, but I wouldn't, because I'm the dark one. Okay? I'll be stuck over there. They'll be like, well, Dad, we'll see you later. So and I'm making joke light of it, but the sincerity of it is this. It's a disgrace. Yeah. It's a disgrace. And I think that time will only tell. But I'm going to definitely look into that, whether or not we should even be, not whether or not, I think I'm going to cancel our trip.
Yeah, I definitely would. But if you want to go enjoy and
no, I don't
carry
enjoy
your
nothing.
Passport.
I don't enjoy nothing that shows discrimination against people.
Right.
And I have a problem with that for real. And I don't just talk it, I am seriously, I don't discriminate against white people.
Right, you should.
I believe that we're humans and we're supposed to treat each other fairly. And we were all created equally. So at some point, when we see it on any level, then I have an issue with it.
Right.
And right now, I didn't even know this until I saw it on your doc. I'm like, dark-skinned people? You talking about me?
Yeah.
Not even him. And when I had Street here, I was the darkie of the group.
Right. And it got so bad, they're constructing a border wall.
Yeah.
So they're constructing
so that
a
sounds
wall.
like...
That's Trump.
Your Uncle
So
Trump.
like
Your Uncle Trump. Your Uncle Trump. You got one more thing on there that I was looking at, and that is that Wilmington CRB.
Yeah, so Wilmington City Council, we already have a civilian review board. It has been established probably 2 years ago. We're like in our second rounds of funding. We paid a group to implement it. So people have been assigned to the civilian review board, so appointed. So we're waiting for that to start in this program. I think it's Nicole NACO, they will be working with us to implement the CRB. However, I've been trying to put in a few amendments to that legislation, because currently right now, how a civilian review board works, or the most effective way for it to work, is for experts from the community to be on the board, not police officers or people related to law enforcement. However,
and that's the way it is now?
So currently right now, the makeup of it is that no one except who the mayor appoints can have law enforcement or police background. And whoever the mayor appoints to the Civilian Review Board would be the board of the chair. So there's a potential that the mayor can appoint somebody with a law enforcement background to be the board, the head of this chair, right, to make decisions for a Civilian Review Board. That is concerning for me, right? I don't think anyone in any position should have law enforcement or police background, because I think it's important to have a Civilian Review Board where we have an entity that is able to investigate and look at police complaints from a very...
That's what I wanted to make sure that one thing Street was big on, because somebody's listening to you right now,
right,
and they don't know what that CRB is all about.
Right.
And what does that board do? But you're ready to go into it.
Yeah, so the board will look at complaints to the police department and see if it's valid in regards to what type of punishment they will receive, in regards to making any suggestions or recommendations for policy changes. So that board will be in charge of that. And there's a whole other state component to it, with the Law Enforcement Bill of Rights that needs to happen. But establishing that now for the city of Wilmington will at least have us do the data collection, right? That is important for us to be able to prove why, on a state level, we need Leo Board repealed. But for right now, they're just trying to reform it.
Okay.
But Leo Board basically gives police additional protections from any information being released about them for a proper investigation to happen. And the City of Wilmington Civilian Review Board does not have it currently. But however, until we wait for Leo Board to happen, we can establish this board, get the information that we need, the data collection, we can get all of that ready, because Leo Board is going to happen eventually, I think within the next maybe 4 to 6 years.
Yeah, it's going to have the same chair?
So with the I'm trying to change that now.
No, not the Civilian Board. I mean, you said Leo Board.
Yeah.
It ain't nothing gonna happen with Leo Board as long as
well, we're not even worried about the chair of the task force down there. We know where he stands. We know that he doesn't want to change anything, even though he talked about his own discrimination as an officer on the Newcastle County Police, but he doesn't want to do anything for the civilians who have no power whatsoever against the police when misconduct does happen. So we're not worried about him. We're not worried about his task force. They voted not to do any of this. He'll come on TV and talk about how, they voted for the strongest. They didn't. You can go look. And honestly, the best tool we have is the fact that it was on Zoom and it's on YouTube. It's available to everyone. We know what everyone voted on, and he voted against the changing Leo Board so that we have access to public misconduct records of officers, so that there's actually oversight coming from these review boards where they can have investigatory power, can have disciplinary power, and then also just empowering the community and the police to have a better relationship together. And he has stood in the way of that. He continues to stand in the way of that. So we're not worried about that. We're going to keep fighting. And if you can't, pit your former profession off to the side and be a strong black man and stand with your community, then honestly, you probably shouldn't even be a state rep anymore.
Yeah, and I agree. I think on a state level that needs to happen, but on a city level, like the composition of the board, that's something that can be impactful now. The sustainability of the board can be impacted now, because currently the Civilian Review Board is funded through the mayor's administration, right? So they get $50,000 out of their budget. If we change a mayor today and they don't have an interest in a Civilian Review Board, it can go away, right? So I am looking to put an amendment where it says that, you at least need funding to have an executive director and a secretary, to make it like a permanent thing. Like, this has to be funded no matter what. And I actually believe the Civilian Review Board fund should come from the police budget.
Okay.
I think it should come from the mayor administration. The Civilian Review Board fund should be cut from the Wilmington Police Department's
And that's
budget.
why I was never for defund the police. I was for always restructuring how we fund them.
Yeah, restructuring. Yeah, that's how I'm for it.
Yeah.
I'm all for restructuring to how they're funded, making sure it makes sense, and that they're not being overcompensated and overfunded. But for that, those are like my two main concerns. Is like the sustainability. I put a few things in there to collect more data in regards to like police stops, their searches that they do, the number of arrests that are made, so that we can have more data to better assess what's going on with the police department in the community. And I was told that, especially with the composition, that the Wilmington Police Department will not work with the Civilian Review Board if we don't have a police officer on it.
Well, then it is what it is. We're going to have to move on, but I will say this, that we're going to come back to this because we need to spend more time and not rushing through it. So next week we're probably going to do a little bit more talking about it in detail, especially on your last point, because who are they to tell us or tell the city council we're going to take our ball if you don't put us on there? That's just a cover-up. Look, we'll be right back.
News all across the nation. Wilmington's latest headlines. Advocating for change in the community with Dr. C.T. Curry, Kobe Owens, and Shanae Darby. Tune in to The Source every Sunday at 5 p.m.
And we're back. Well, we come to that Kobe corner. You know, there's a little competition going on here. I'm trying to figure out which one I like the most, although there really isn't. But Kobe, let's hear what's going on with yours, because your first item I'm just excited, elated with.
Yeah, so to start on a national level, for the first time ever, either party in either chamber of the U.S. Congress, both the U.S. House, U.S. Senate, we finally have an African American who is the leader of a party. And that is Hakeem Jeffries from District 8 up in New York. He was elected to replace Nancy Pelosi as the incoming Democratic leader starting the 118th session, which starts January the 3rd. Hakeem has built his way up. He's a member of the Judiciary Committee. He has been the Democratic Caucus chair for the last 2 terms, and now he is becoming the leader. He's someone who pays homage. He got national recognition for paying homage to Biggie, and he raps some of his speeches sometimes. But the work he does is centered around criminal justice reform, really diving into our judiciary system, really advocating for more diverse thought and diversity on our court system. Even though he doesn't get to vote on it, he has been a huge help on a federal level of getting more black women, more black men, and more minorities on federal bench than probably anyone else in the House over these last, I'll say, 6 years. So I'm extremely excited for him to see his lead and see what comes from it. Also, his deputies, his number 2 and his number 3, the Democratic whip, Catherine Clark, was elected from up in Massachusetts, and then Pete Aguilar was elected to replace him as caucus chair from California. So it's a changing, right? It's the first time we have 3 new top 3 leaders in the Democratic Party in the House in 20 years. So we're definitely excited to see the change and see what they bring to the table as well, too.
Yeah, and he's not too far to the left.
No, I think he's
very
done a good
much
job.
going to be able to balance well, and he's very respectable, and he's so articulate. One of the things that I'm going to let you continue on. One of the things, reason why I despise having Walker as a candidate in Georgia is because he is so inarticulate. Now I know I said all those, and they're like, "Well, yeah, I wasn't so articulate there." He's a buffoon. Forgive me. Go ahead.
Yeah. So Walker is a whole nother debate. And we have 2 days left in that election. The election is on Tuesday. But back to this, right? So now, as the new Congress, the Democrats are in the minority. I'm glad that, they're going to do these investigations. The GOP are going to do these investigations. I'm glad that we have someone like Hakeem who can combat that. Next, I want to talk about the White House. So the White House has announced that it's going to host the 2nd annual Summit on Democracy. And before. During the first one in 2021, they had over 100 different partner governments come together and talk about what they're doing to protect democracy in their own countries. Now we're gonna have it hosted here on March 29th to 30th, and leaders from Costa Rica, Netherlands, the Republic of Korea, the Republic of Zambia, and others are all coming together to talk about what they're doing to make sure that democracy is growing, and that more power is being given to their citizens to get involved with their elections and have free and open elections. Excellent. So everyone's voice. So each country is at a different point right now.
Absolutely.
A lot of countries are still working on making sure that they're just including women in the process, right? Yeah. So, this summit is meant to push that along a little bit more as we go forward. And
I want to say to those who are watching, especially here in Delaware, please pay close attention. I know we're on YouTube and other forums. Mm-hmm. People can see us from all around the world. But we need to pay attention to democracy. Because what Russia is doing right now with the LBGT, I don't know all the letters, I'm sorry, community is really shameful. Mm-hmm. And they're going to be picked on. And they're going to be considered. Now, we all have our opinions. But if it's them now, it'll be the next group later. And if we don't preserve our democracy, what we're going to end up doing is finding ourselves in a situation where we'll have Trump as our king. Mm. And that's what and some of the mayors of cities and governors, they operate like they are a king, but in actuality that's why we have courts. We can sue and they can come off their throne quickly.
And I think that's a good point, but I also want to add in critiquing democracy, which is actually connected to capitalism, to why we have poverty and 1% owns everything and everyone else doesn't. I hope that we're really analyzing that and doing an analysis on that, and how do we. I think you could be democratic without believing in capitalism or practicing it. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Next, I want to talk about Delaware, some state news, right? Mm-hmm. So the election cycle's over. We have a new look in the General Assembly. We have more women, more African Americans going down there than ever before. I'm super excited about some of the people who got elected in November, some of the new people who are coming in. On the Republican side in the House, they elected new leadership. They ousted Danny Short and Tim Dukes as their leader and their whip, and elected Mike Ramone as leader and Lyndon Yorick as their new whip. So we're definitely going to see a change in their caucus, and they're going to try to work less with Democrats and try to hold the line. But the thing is, we held our majority in the House, so we can keep doing the great work that we need to do in the House. And then, of course, the Senate.
Was there ever any doubt that we would hold it?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
In the Senate, we actually increased the majority over there by one seat. We picked up a seat down in Sussex with Russ Husable, and then we also elected Kara Hoffner to replace a retiring senator. So we're super excited about that over in the Senate. But as this new look Senate comes together, it's going to be critical, especially in this first year in 2023, when the governor is potentially going to be appointing 2 new Supreme Court justices. As of the 30th, Wednesday of this week, Justice James T. Vaughn from the Supreme Court announced that he's retiring. He's 73 years old. He's been in the court system since, I believe, since 1989.
Okay.
But he's had long served. His father also served on the courts as well too. He is retiring, which means Governor Carney will get an opportunity to replace him. Now, the other justice, we're still waiting to see how it goes on a federal level, and that's to Justice Tamika Montgomery Reeves. She is a black woman who would be the second black woman appointed to the federal bench for the Third Circuit. She has been nominated by President Biden. I know Senator Coons and Senator Carper are working diligently to get her nomination through. It has passed the Judiciary Committee. Now they're just waiting to get her on the floor for a vote amongst the whole body of senators. So that's 2 seats that are going to be open. So honestly, the governor can go to the bench, to the Superior Court and pick someone, to the Chancery Court to pick someone, any of the courts, or he can choose to pick someone from the outside of the court system, someone who has been in the legal system but may not be on the bench as of right now. So he has a lot of thinking to do. I think people, if you know people who are interested in doing that type of public service or looking at maybe a different bench if it opens up, definitely reach out and talk to us. And then again, my last point, and I said it earlier in the show, 2024 has started already. Former President Donald Trump has announced he couldn't wait for after that election. I told you he was Biden at it. President Biden is gearing up to announce.
So you think he is going to
I think he is going to run, unless something changes majorly. I think also you look at people are already gearing up here in Delaware to run. We have an open governor seat, open lieutenant governor seat, open county executive seat, open county council president seat. The mayor of Wilmington is up. All of city council
the mayor
is
of
up.
Wilmington is up to be reelected.
All those seats are up.
Okay.
So there's going to be a lot of movement.
The whole city council.
The whole city council's up.
Okay.
The entire
whole
house.
city council.
Yes. The entire House of Representatives is up, and half the Senate is up. So it's going to be a lot of movement in 2024, and people are starting to position themselves and get ready to run as we speak.
Is the mayor going to rerun?
I say always assume yes until they say no.
Oh, what do you say?
I think he is, unless his health takes a turn. Okay. But I think he's gearing up to run as well. But
it's really interesting. People don't have to give up any power.
No.
They don't have to give up power. I mean,
he has one more term.
Why would he? If I was him, I wouldn't.
Well, let me tell you something.
And I know y'all not going to get it
together.
together.
We were able to build East Zion Fair from small congregation to a nice sized congregation. I have started my process of retiring because sometimes you can sit in a spot for so long that you're not effective and you create more harm than the good you've done. And I just believe, like I was never one of those people, I'm going to die in the pulpit unless prematurely. I want to see some other person take where the Lord has brought us to another level.
Escalated, yep.
But Trump only wanted to run, well, he wanted to run for two reasons. One, he wanted to keep everybody off of him, but he wanted that power back.
Yeah.
And at some point, let it go. And I'm not going to talk about Biden, I'm not going to talk about nobody, but just at some point, Jeffries would have never been able to be where he is today if Nancy would have just not made a sound decision. I'm going to stay with y'all for a while, but I'm out. And now we got a very strong leader. In my opinion, I really respect Jeffries. But people just hold on. I'm sorry, I ain't even getting your business.
No, that's all my talking points for today. I hit everything, and I'm good.
And you're good, huh? Okay, well, I'm going to let you say you're good because I'm going to just ask you some questions real quickly. And the first question is that do you think that Georgia is going to turn out, what's the difference between 50 and 50, and what's the difference between 51 and 49?
So 50 and 50 means all committees have to be even.
Yeah.
Which has stalled a lot of things, stalled a lot of legislation, nominations, getting out of committee. Now, if it's 51-49, even though it's a slim margin, it does not have to be equal. We have the majority. Democrats have the majority. They can move things through a lot quicker. Also, it means that we are less dependent on Kristen Sinema and on Joe Manchin to get things done.
Well, do you think that them two will stick together so they still stall on everything?
They're going to try. But even then, they weren't always strong together. They only needed one to break. Now, they would have to both stay together. They're both up in 2024 with Biden on the ballot. I think Kristen Sinema cracks a little bit more. She has competition already from a sitting U.S. rep. And Biden has won Arizona. Arizona now is all blue with a governor, 2 U.S. senators. So I think there is still some room there for things to get done with her and for her to come on board. But again, Georgia is going to be so important. Who gets to deliver for Georgia? We've seen Herschel Walker campaign. He's just a puppet for Trump. Either Mitch McConnell didn't want him at first.
Right.
But now it's down to just a few more days. And we're seeing high turnout already amongst young black people. And, in those areas or in the Atlanta metro area, in Savannah, in areas that are traditionally blue. So that is looking good for Reverend Warnock. We've seen more young people vote early at this point than voted early at this point for the regular election, which is a good thing.
Yeah, and so you're feeling good about Warnock winning.
Yes.
I don't know. What are you feeling? You feel he's going to be all right, or do you not want him to?
No, I think he'll be okay. You know, I listen, but I'm not really into the federal level.
And that's why we like you so much, because you are very big on your city.
Yeah.
And every time there's something with the city, I turn this way just so I can talk to you. Although Kobe, he's with the city too. What district are you in, Kobe?
I'm in the 1st district.
You're in the 1st district. Our
he
sister
can put
Gray.
it for Linda Gray's seat.
Well, we don't put Kobe on the spot like that. But one of the things that Kobe have decided to do, which I respect so highly, is not get involved with people who could just lie to him. Mm-hmm. I give him credit for that. I mean, at one point, I guess in the beginning of your career, you probably did and got stung enough. But people make promises in these closed rooms and they try, look, you're a good candidate. But he knows that there are people who would die if he gets into city council. Listen. If they put him in that 1st district, the mayor wouldn't run again.
Oh, the mayor does
he wouldn't run again. If you want him not to run, put him in that.
The mayor does not want you on his seat. They have a list of people they do not like, and they say that in meetings to us. Yeah. They say, "Oh, we don't like that person."
But you know what's funny? They have us on that list, but some of us continue to do well anyhow.
Yeah,
and I just found out something, Kobe, that our Street was on the show because we can use some of his colorful words. But I just found out that they're around the corner building a 10-unit apartment complex. It's going to be a multi-thing. And they're doing it for the veterans, those who had served our country. And, I'm very big on the veterans, and I believe in that. That's very important. But it's in our zoning. They did not, well, not yet. We got one more level to go to see if or not they're going to totally deny mine for the seniors. I love the veterans and I love the seniors. How come one can be? That's not denied yet, because they gave us time to respond, and we're going to respond this week, and let them vote then. But how did they get that through? I don't remember seeing anything saying they had to go through zoning. And
they don't have to. So when you're close in with the mayor administration, they will basically skip steps.
How could they do that? Let me tell you what's going to happen. Can I tell you what's going to happen? What's going to happen is you done ran into a city boy from the hood in Philly.
Not a city boy.
Or man, or old man, whatever you want to call me.
All right.
And there's a thing called the legal system. Mm-hmm. If they ain't never listened to their legal folks before, if things go awry, I ain't going to talk no more. Mm-hmm. That's all I got to say. Because at some point, and I thank God for East Zion Fair, because we're not poor. We didn't ask the city for nothing. We'll get a lawyer, and we're going to have to deal with this. Because I would like to know, how did it get through? Mm-hmm. But I'll be quiet, mind my business. If mine come through. But if mine doesn't, stand by. Mm-hmm. We'll be right back.
People who don't have a real understanding of what early childhood education or teaching is, that's what they think about. We are like just babysitters. We're just giving them things to play with. They're not actually realizing that we're actually doing more than that. We are actually teaching the children to be a good human being, teaching them manners, teaching them things that's going to help them develop their skills, especially their physical, cognitive, and especially their emotional and social.
We do so much every day, and I wish people knew how much we did, because I think we would be a lot more appreciated.
And it's education, it's providing children with opportunities to grow and develop, to build relationships with families, to work as part of a team, to work within the community. There's just so many different aspects to working at a campus than just looking after children.
We're definitely not babysitters. It's not an easy job. You have to be really passionate, and it is challenging, but it's definitely rewarding. We are educators. We teach, children a lot, and I believe they learn a lot from us as educators through the relationships we build with the children, the program that we have, it's just great, yeah.
We get to develop and I guess support children's developmental milestone through the age of like 0 to 5. So I think that's very meaningful and that inspires me a lot. So I think it's very important that we get it proved to them we're not just nannies, we're actually early childhood educators, that we don't babysit your children. We're here to educate them and teach them and how to cope with like life, not just academic skills, but emotional and social skills. It's also very important to prepare them to go to school.
We need to learn the programs and in order to deliver it to the children. So, you know, I've learnt Spanish and music and sustainability practices and all this great stuff, so then I can then, you know, teach it to the children.
Teaching is physically, mentally and emotionally demanding because it requires you to be consistently alert and in search for ways how to provide experiences that will extend children's interests, discoveries and skills. But it is actually also tremendously rewarding whenever you see them develop into independent and confident human beings.
And we're back. What a great show. I thank both of you for diligently doing what you do for the community and doing the things that you do to keep our community informed. And I'm very appreciative, very much so. I just had one announcement. As many of you who know that in the state of Delaware, we're having a shortage right now in daycare teachers and classroom teachers for the daycares. Now, daycares are certainly the foundation of the employment opportunities because parents who have to go to work, whether they go to McDonald's or if they have to go to, you know, a executive boardroom, when you have children, you need someone who can give your child quality care that is strong. I've noticed that here, even in our center, that we are running into a crisis with finding quality people to work in our center. Now, how we do it is this way. If you're not already certified, we will help you get certified and we will pay for it. But we also will provide you with a salary that is very, very equitable and that you will feel very comfortable. We do have benefits. We don't have the health care yet. I'm waiting for the right president to get in so that we can get this health care thing right. But we got all the other benefits besides the health one. Let me also say to you that, again, we're looking for quality individuals. If you know of a person who may want to help in the classrooms, we will pay. It could be a part-time or full-time. And we will be very, very modest in how we certainly pay people. But if you're not interested in working with children, don't even call us. Our phone number here at the church is 302-652-9114. Again, that's 302-652-9114. And I hope and trust that we can get some good people. And if we have to help get you certified so that you can help our children. And we have a 5-star center. And our parents are very much in love with what we do. But we don't want to become a part of the shortage. Right now, we're good. But we want to start pulling people in. So that's it. That's my show for the day.
There we go.
Anything else from you?
Nothing
Anything else
from
from
me.
you?
I'm good.
Well, listen. See ya.
Take care, y'all.
Talk soon.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of The Source. Be sure to tune in next Sunday at 5 p.m.